Welcome to NFL Nexus. The Houston Texans are way past the rebuilding phase. They are officially reloading for a championship run. And that whole journey, it really kicks off right now at the NFL Combine. So today, we are going to decode their high-stakes draft plan. And hey, before we really get into the weeds here, if this is the kind of deep dive analysis you love, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments your biggest draft hope for the Texans. You know, for the Houston Texans, that statement right there on your screen, it's not just some tired old cliche. It's the absolute truth. The NFL Combine in Indy is so much more than just watching guys in shorts run a 40-yard dash. For GM Nick Caserio and his crew, this is the ultimate intelligence-gathering mission. It's where they're going to find the answers that define their entire draft board and really shape the future of this franchise.
So here's how we're going to break this all down, kind of like we're sitting in the war room with them. First, we'll lay out the big picture, this offseason puzzle they're facing. Then we'll take a deep dive into what they need on offense and defense. After that, we're going to look at some really critical X factors, these roster decisions that could change everything, before we put it all together into their final master plan for the Combine.
Okay, let's just dive right into it. First things first, you have to forget everything you thought about the Texans being this, cute underdog story. That's over. They've graduated from rebuilding. The mission right now is reloading. Every single decision they make from this point forward is about one thing and one thing only: building a legitimate Super Bowl champion around their franchise quarterback, CJ Stroud.
And this right here, this is their war chest. You're looking at 8 total picks, and the really important part is those 3 premium selections inside the top 64. That gives Houston immense flexibility. This isn't just about plugging 1 or 2 holes on the roster. No, this is the kind of draft capital that lets them target immediate, high-impact starters and, just as important, build out that quality, cost-controlled depth that really separates the good teams from the perennial contenders. This is the ammo you need to keep a championship window open.
Man, that offense was absolutely electric last season, wasn't it? They could strike from pretty much anywhere on the field. But to take that next step, to go from just dangerous to truly unstoppable, they've got to reinforce that whole ecosystem around CJ Stroud, and we're going to start in the backfield. Woody Marks was an unbelievable find in last year's draft, but here's the reality. Even with his solid play, the Texans' rushing attack was stuck in the bottom half of the league, and that lack of a consistent, powerful run game, well, it made them one-dimensional at some really critical moments. So the front office has a huge decision to make. Do they spend big money on a veteran in free agency, or do they use a valuable draft pick to find a long-term running mate for Marks? Now look, the top running back in this class, Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, that's pretty much a pipe dream unless they make a massive trade-up. The smarter, more strategic play here is using one of their day 2 picks, and this is where the Combine becomes so important. They're going to be watching guys like Jadarian Price, who's a real weapon in the passing game, and then you got Emmett Johnson, who's more of a pure power runner. They're looking to see who has that perfect complementary skill set to what Marks already does so well. They're trying to create a true thunder and lightning duo back there.
Dalton Schultz, he was a fantastic security blanket for CJ Stroud. I mean, a reliable, chain-moving target you can always count on. But if you look past him on the depth chart, man, that tight end room was just a wasteland of injuries and inconsistency. And that put a really hard ceiling on what this offense was capable of.
And this right here just illustrates the problem perfectly. It's a cascade effect, right? When your TE2 and TE3, Cade Stover and Brevin Jordan, are lost to major injuries, it doesn't just hurt your depth. It forces your number 1 guy to play almost every single snap. And it totally limits your ability to run those 2 tight end sets, which are so crucial for a balanced attack. Houston absolutely cannot afford to be this fragile at such a key position again. So the whole point here is finding value. They're not looking for some superstar in the first round. They're hunting for a complete player on day 2 or day 3. Guys like Max Clare or Jack Andrews, they aren't just pass catchers. They've got the physicality to be real assets in the run game. Bringing in a young, versatile tight end gives Stroud another weapon to grow with, and it gives the offense some much-needed tactical flexibility. Okay, you're going to want to listen closely here because this is, you could argue, the single most important area of focus for the Texans in this entire draft process. The interior of their offensive line was a vulnerability, and we all saw it get exposed in the playoffs. Protecting your franchise quarterback is everything, and upgrading those guard and center spots is simply non-negotiable. A lot of experts are connecting the Texans to Penn State's Olave Iowani with their first-round pick at number 28, and it makes perfect sense. A player like Iowani isn't just a patch, he's a cornerstone. This is a mauler who can completely reset the line of scrimmage in the run game, but he's also athletic enough to handle those elite interior pass rushers. Fortifying the interior isn't just about protecting Stroud. It's the key that unlocks a dominant running game, and that in turn makes the entire offense lethal.
I mean, let's be honest, this draft class is absolutely overflowing with talent at wide receiver, and it's always tempting to add more shiny toys to the offense. But for a team that's right on the cusp of contention, the question isn't, can we add a good player? The real question is this the most strategic use of a very valuable resource? And when you really look at the current roster, the answer seems pretty clear. Nico Collins is a certified star. Tank Dell is on track to come back as that explosive deep threat. Xavier Hutchinson has developed into a super reliable possession guy. And you've still got young players like Higgins and Noel waiting in the wings. This is a deep group. Houston will probably, and I think wisely, decide to use their prime draft capital to fix more pressing weaknesses.
Before we flip over to the defense, just a quick reminder that if you're enjoying this deep dive, you can really help support our work here at NFL Nexus by grabbing one of our exclusive coloring books. They're perfect for fans of any age, and they make great gifts. You can find the link right down in the description, or just scan the QR code on your screen. Your support really does let us keep making these in-depth explainers. Okay, now let's look at how the Texans plan to add even more power to their already elite defense.
All right, let's get into the defense. With a top-tier unit already in place, this isn't about some total overhaul. This is about surgical additions. It's about finding young, powerful, and affordable players who can complement the established stars and just keep that talent pipeline full for years to come. Let's just be crystal clear about something. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, they form a terrifying duo off the edge, maybe the best in the entire league. But the effectiveness of an edge rush is directly tied to the push you get from the interior. And that interior, it's facing a potential major shakeup. I mean, look at this. With key guys like Sheldon Rankins and Tim Settle Jr. hitting free agency, there are big holes to fill. And then you have a veteran like Mario Edwards, who's a potential cap casualty. That means the team could release him to save money. This creates a clear and obvious need for new blood. And the goal is simple. Find a young disruptor who can collapse the pocket from the inside so quarterbacks can't step up and escape the monsters coming off the edge. The great news for Houston is that the end of the first round is a real sweet spot for this position. They're going to have options. A guy like Cade McDonald is a pure run stuffer who can just eat up double teams. Lee Hunter offers that explosive pass rush upside from an interior spot. And Kristen Miller is that relentless, high-motor player that every coach loves. Any one of these prospects would be a perfect fit to re-energize that defensive front. Kalen Bullock is a rising star. No question about it. He's versatile, he's instinctive, a true playmaker on the back end. The problem is, the other safety spot was just this chaotic, revolving door all season long. And that created a rare and pretty glaring point of weakness on what was an otherwise stout defense. And this just perfectly illustrates the chaos they were dealing with. I mean, when you're cycling through starters, dealing with major injuries, and you're elevating practice squad guys just to get through a game, that destroys communication and chemistry in your secondary. That kind of instability leads to busted coverages and big plays for the other team. It is a clear weakness that absolutely has to be solidified. Look, the top safety in this draft, Caleb Downs, he's going to be a distant memory by the time Houston's on the clock. But having 2 second-round picks is a massive advantage. This is the perfect spot to find a long-term starter. A player like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren brings the kind of versatility to play deep or down in the box, and that perfectly complements Bullock's skill set and allows the defense to be so much more multiple. It's about finding the right puzzle piece, not just a player. All right, now for the X factors. These are those internal decisions, the dominoes that have to fall before the draft, that are going to create a massive ripple effect and really dictate Houston's entire strategy. Okay, this is where team building gets so fascinating. Titus Howard has proven he can play well at both left guard and right tackle. The decision on his permanent home for 2026 completely changes the draft board. If they decide you're our long-term left guard, well then right tackle instantly becomes a day 1 or day 2 priority. But if he stays at right tackle, then finding a plug-and-play left guard becomes the mission. This single decision will define their early round targets. It's the first domino. So Davis Mills stepped in for an injured C.J. Stroud last season and went a perfect 3-0 as a starter. He proved he's one of the most capable backup quarterbacks in the entire league. And because of that, his trade value is now at its absolute peak, which presents the front office with a very, very compelling strategic opportunity.
So the crucial point here isn't about pushing Davis Mills out the door. This is about smart asset management. A top-tier backup quarterback, that's a luxury. Draft picks, those are necessities.
By trading Mills, they can convert that luxury item into more draft capital, another pick or two they can use to build depth somewhere else. Then they can just use a late-round pick on a young QB to develop, maximizing the value of every single spot on that 53-man roster.
So after we've put all these pieces together, the needs, the prospects, the X factors, what is the final master plan? What is the Houston Texans' blueprint for a successful combine and draft? Let's just distill it all down.
This is it. This is the blueprint. Priority number 1 is protecting the franchise, and that means fortifying that interior offensive line. They will be laser-focused on those prospects. A key focus is injecting youth and power into that D-line to complement their star edge rushers. They'll be on the hunt for a running back on day 2 to create a more balanced attack, and they'll be looking to add quality depth at tight end and safety. And all of this, of course, is going to be guided by those final, crucial decisions on Titus Howard and Davis Mills.
And that right there, that is the ultimate question. Is it building a fortress around C.J. Stroud with a dominant guard? Is it finding that game-changing running back to achieve perfect offensive balance? Or is it adding one more monster to an already terrifying defensive line? I really want to know what you think is the single most impactful move they can make. Go ahead and drop your answer in the comments below, and that's our deep dive into the Texans Combine strategy. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like this video and subscribe to NFL Nexus for more. And hey, don't forget to check out our coloring books to support the channel. Thanks for watching.